OK, just before we go to the vote, we will get there eventually. If you recall from Yasmin's contribution this morning, if the statement is carried, it doesn't mean to say that we will not continue to vote on composite 13 and 14.
Oh, well, that's self-explanatory. They will have three votes, even if the NEC statement's carried.
It's been explained. I am moving to the vote. So can I see all those in favour for the NEC statement on Brexit? OK, thank you. And can I see all those against? OK, that is clearly carried.
Big cheers there for that was carried. You heard the chair there say it was carried. So now the next vote. The chants of Jeremy Corbyn. So that's a big victory for Mr Corbyn. His supporters clearly delighted.
Delegates, we do have a number of other votes to take.
Another vote now.
And the next one is your favourite ones on the reference back.
Well, they like a reference back at Labour conferences.
The first one that you was referenced back was on the International Policy Commission annual report from Brighton Kemp Town.
Yeah, this is not to do with Brexit. This one.
Back?
So, Mr Corbyn and that first important vote has looked like a fairly significant victory.
That's carried. That's clearly carried. I have two further reference
Yeah, and John, the composite 13, that's the remain as an official position, right?
Correct, yes.
Paragraph 2. Can I see all those in favour of the reference back?
Two procedural votes here before we get on to the ones we're interested in.
Thank you. Anyone against? That's clearly carried. Third one is from Liverpool Wavertree, which again was on page 124.
Yep, so while these go on, John, I mean, the point on that one, the NEC vote, is that is a considerable relief, I would imagine, for Jeremy Corbyn.
That is
indeed, yes, and I was describing earlier how the mood in the hall seemed to swing back in Mr Corbyn's favour as the debate went on. There was a lot of talk about appeals for unity to the leader, right, we're on 11, we're getting close. A lot of speakers urged the delegates to support Mr Corbyn, be loyal to him there. I think that was number 11, I'm not sure what that was on.
That was on
Yemen. That was Yemen.
Foreign policy. Can I see all those in favour?
This is 12, so the next one is the Brexit one after this.
Thank you. And anyone against?
And it's possible, John, that 13 could be carried as well, is it?
Yeah, it's, well, it's possible. We'll see in a second.
Now moving on to composite 13.
Here we go.
Brexit. Can I see all those in favour of composite 13? Thank you. And all those against?
Big cheers for the votes against. Silence. What's she going to announce?
Sorry, I thought it was one way. Jenny said something else, so... Yes, that was lost.
That was lost. So another victory for... that's a big blow for those who... the pro-Remainers. Another victory for Mr Corbyn. A lot of cheers, as you can hear there. You could hear a pin drop during that vote, couldn't you? The tension in the hall. Or is there a call for a card?
And 14, John, this is supporting the Corbyn motion, in effect, is it?
Yes, indeed. I think there's a call for a card vote. Let's wait and see what happens. Corbyn supporters cheering and singing his name. There was a call for a card vote. I'm not sure if the chair is allowing it.
Can we sit down? I know that's a difficult... Sorry? Okay. Just, can I just look? Whichever way I go with this, I'm going to be in trouble with some people. In my view, it was carried. It was in my view, it was carried.
It's lost. You said it was lost, I thought.
Sorry. Listen. I'm getting it that it was lost. Sorry.
Yes, she said it was lost a minute ago.
And whilst I accept we had a number of card votes yesterday, it was closer than what this was. It's very difficult. It isn't. We have nothing in our standing orders or constitution, which some organisations have, where if there's a number of people calling for it, we can do that. So it's the decision. The decision has to be, as I called it, that it was lost, and that's very difficult.
Well, it looks as though she's rejected calls for a card vote there.
Look,
some people in the hall obviously don't like it.
I understand the difficulties. We've had a really good debate. We've respected each other's points of view, and at the point where, you know, I can't. If it wasn't clear, I'd have asked for a card vote.
Conference, this is one of the most important decisions that the Labour Party will take this decade, and I think we deserve a card vote here. We have already heard from delegates. We've already heard from delegates that the unions actually are quite split on this. Unison are in favour of Composite 13. Unite were against. I think it's impossible to tell from the floor, given the number of card votes we had yesterday. We deserve a card vote here today. Democracy in action.
A real row going on here, as you can hear. A call for a card vote there. Let's see what the ruling is.
No. Let's... Delegates, no. Absolutely, please sit down. And to the last person, you can see my lanyard. I'm a member of Unison, a former president, and they will expect me to do what's right. And if it was carried, I would have said that, and it was lost, and they will accept that as well.
She seems to be sticking to her ruling that it was lost.
And that was lost.
Dramatic scenes here.
I mean, pretty extraordinary scenes, aren't they, for, you know, something that is so important for the party?
Well, that was a point that was being made by the person who demanded a card vote just then.
I want us to leave, and I want us to be right with each other, because the most important thing for any of us is a Labour government to deal with all the issues that we've talked about this week. So I'm now moving on to Composite 14. No, I'm not going back to that. We've had the discussion. I know you'll be upset. No, I'm moving on to Composite 14.
She's ruling out calls for a card vote. A lot of people in the hall don't like it.
Can I see all those in favour? No, I'm not going to be bullied and shouted at and all the rest of it. The decision's been made. Composite, no, I'm not taking the point of order on the same point. I moved on to Composite 14. Can I see all those in favour of Comp 14? Thank you. And all those against? Okay, that is carried.
And that John, is a composite motion basically supporting Mr Corbyn.
Yes. But my word, there was a lot of controversy over that second vote, wasn't there, and calls for a card vote.
Can I,
But they've all gone
delegates,
through
can
on
I
a show of
ask you
hands.
to sit down, please?
A lot of cheering in the hall.
Okay.
There'll
the
be
next
huge
vote
relief for
will
Mr.
be on
Corbyn.
the emergency motion. Human rights for the Uyghurs. I won't
Yeah,
get
so
that
John,
right
let's
again.
come back to you now.
Can
I mean, I
see
think
all
that's done,
in
those
favour
three
of the emergency
votes.
motion?
Clearly a victory for Mr. Corbyn. Some
you.
dispute over the manner of
And anyone
voting,
against,
so it
one
shows the
against.
divisions within
Yes.
that party all too
That
clearly.
is overwhelmingly
But how do you think the leadership will be feeling about that?
Relieved, I'm sure, because earlier today there were fears amongst Mr. Corbyn's supporters that they might lose that second vote. Now, there will be, no doubt, throughout this evening and possibly tomorrow as well. We may not have heard the last of this. There may be more points of order raised, probably not today because they're about to finish, but tomorrow. Enormous relief. There was when Unison, and she heard Wendy Nichols there mention Unison. She used to be a former president of that union. Unison, big union, million-plus members, led by Dave Prentice, big Remain supporter. When we learned that they were swinging behind the pro-Remain motion, there were a lot of thoughts that perhaps Mr. Corbyn would lose that vote. Clearly, a lot of delegates, some of the Momentum activists, many of them. Will have supported that motion, but controversially the chair ruled that it was lost and she rejected calls for a card vote. I think the protests over that will probably run on long into the night, but as it is, the chair has ruled and Mr. Corbyn has won all three votes. He will be mightily relieved.
All right, John, thanks very much indeed, and we will get all the reaction we can on that right after this break.